let me remove the speck on my eye, because at this stage, I would no longer cry more than the bereaved. What we have today that is happening in Plateau is the governor of Plateau State has just allocated a very vast land for the Fulani herders. At this stage, it is clear that the people, that the government of that state have been defeated. It is clear that they have accepted their fate, that at this stage, they need to part way with some of their resources with the bullies in their land. But again, what does the future hold for the people of Plateau, even into Benue State? I'm going to show you a video of the governor, maybe thanking the federal government. But it is clear that aspect, in my own eye, let me take my own time to remove it and leave the Plateau people with their own problem. Let's watch the video together.
Let me thank Mr. President. When he took this initiative to create the Ministry of Livestock Development, many people had misgivings about it. But today, with what you have unveiled, it shows to us a clear roadmap that not only are we going to boost our economy and GDP, we're going to create employment, we're going to develop opportunities for entrepreneurs. The value chain around livestock is so massive.
Welcome back. So what next? Caleb Moftwang, what next? What you must understand is, a bully does not listen to any form of persuasion. A bully would not change his ways from being a bully because you go into peaceful negotiations. The only word, the only deterrent for a bully is you becoming a bigger bully, or you outsourcing the fight to bully that bully into cower. What is sure and certain is the bully as of today are the Fulani herders, the Fulani marauding herders, let me put it rightly, those that are terrorizing the people of Plateau State. What about the people? What about the souls? What about the bodies that have been burned by these Fulani bandits? What about the so many farmlands, crops, vegetations? Some people's knowledge has been erased. Some people's family and culture has been eroded. But again, what this governor will do at the end of the day is have a negotiation to compensate the marauding Fulani herders, the terrorizing Fulani bandits, and give them lands. From that video, you can see the federal government are setting up a livestock ministry, or should I say livestock reserve, taking away the people's lands. And by the way, the federal government cannot do this if the state governor does not approve of it. And this is why we say that when you elect people, make sure you elect the people that will come and protect your interest. I will repeat it. I will no longer cry more than the bereaved. The last time I made a program about repentant Fulani bandits, I posted it yesterday. A guy shared his story. He said he was kidnapped. He spent 197 days, approximately 200 days in the den of the kidnappers. And just for him, 3 years later, to see the person that kidnapped him leading a prayer in the mosque in this same country called Nigeria, it simply means the kidnapper has repented. Now he is a cleric in a mosque that indeed he is now leading prayers. Oh God. So you see that the federal government is complicit. These are people that go out there to commit atrocities. I mean, these Fulani bandits. And at the end of the day, the government comes out to kind of forgive them. I am sure Sunday Jackson that fought for his life because he was protecting his farmland against a marauder, a cattle herder. And while they were in battle, unfortunately, the cattle herder lost his life. But Sunday Jackson didn't leave that battle without a scar. At the end of the day, the government of Nigeria sentenced him to death. And yet, some over 300,000 bandits are being forgiven. It is clear. It is clear. And this is why I always do my heart, I throw my salute from my Eastern brothers, because they have already seen the agenda of the Nigerian government. This is why a person like Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will always be a threat for the Fulani race in this country. This is why so many people, and it all started under the regime of Buhari, why they've always insisted that any voice that speaks against the interests of the Fulani oligarchs, the Fulani hegemony, must be silenced and silenced forever. You can see what they did to Sunday Igboho. We can see what is still going on for Nnamdi Kanu. It is sure that if it was Peter Obi that won the election, yes, a Sunday Igboho might have been released, but of course, a Mazi Nnamdi Kanu also would have been freed by now. Tinubu is trying to play two cards with Nnamdi Kanu. Of course, must understand that he is trying to appease the Fulanese, and also he's trying to find a way how he can garner some votes from the Igbos. That shall I release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu with the Igbos? Will they give me their vote? But I am sure, damn sure, that by 2026, towards the end of 2026 or towards that election period, because a campaign will start by next year, definitely Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be a political gambit, because it is clear the North are seemingly drifting away from Tinubu, and Tinubu wants to probably attract the sympathy vote from the Igbos. It is clear. The people who speak against the Fulanis will suddenly become their enemies. And for now, Tinubu doesn't want to do that. But when it is closer to that election time, Tinubu might, or should I say, according to my prediction, my probability is 8 over 10, he will release Nnamdi Kanu for his own political exigencies. The Fulanis are, they are extremely against him right now because he's doing everything to dismantle their powers, their chokehold, their grip on Nigerian economy. Tinubu is doing everything. But we know that these people are principalities and powers. These are people who have held the country for over a period of 64 to 65 years. So it's not going to be an easy ride for Tinubu. The colonial masters indeed handed over everything about Nigeria. They handed it over to them, the northern oligarchs. They told them, fill up the security apparatus. Do not joke with it. It is the man that holds the barrel that commands the tune of the economy. If you take your time, check the attendance of the Nigerian soldiers, you will find out that you have 10 Fulani or 10 Northern Hausa Fulani before you count one Igbo man or one Yoruba man. That is what we have there, in a level of inequality that has led to this high level of impunity. And this is why you see there are so many bandits, so many times they are not caught, because they have their brothers in the Nigerian army. They speak the same language, and there's this sentiment, this bloodline sympathy. It is unfortunate. And like I have said earlier at the beginning of this program, I said I have got to pull out the log in my own eye. And I will not cry more than the bereaved, because the situation in Plateau is an eye opener for me. And I indeed will no longer come forth and be advising the people of Middle Belt, because I think at this stage they are not hungry enough. I think indeed they are ready to live with the monster they have allowed to breed. So I will no longer, I am right there in the southwest. So I will not watch a person that has actually erased my cultural ancestral land, probably in most cases wiped so many of my friends and families. But my governor will now say that for peace to reign, we need to give them a very vast chunk of land for them to to graze their cattle. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but for me, I think this is the deal breaker, and I'm going to probably stop talking about middle belt. You know, so let us watch what this guy who met his kidnapper in the mosque has to say. Let's watch it together.
According to Bala Muhammad, it was a divine meeting at the Bakirwa area in Kaduna metropolis.
Actually, I meet one Habakar who happened to be one of our guards when we were in captivity. So actually, after we finished the prayer, imagine I just turned like that, and I just see somebody like familiar the face that I know. He just looked at me, and then later we just shake hands. So after shaking the hand, he just vibrates. Later, uh, I I just give me a little amount and then went to nearest filling station and nearby. I follow his motorcycle. All of them, I forgive them. I stand that I forgive them because I'm a Muslim.
A kidnappee met his kidnapper in the mosque around Kaduna State and they shook hands. The kidnapper was actually shocked, but again, the kidnappee couldn't arrest the kidnapper because the kidnapper has been forgiven by your Nigerian government. He has been rehabilitated. He has gone through that 18 months rehabilitation for bandits and Fulani kidnappers. On my screen, let me read this guy's experience. I shook hand. I shook his hand and he panicked. I told him to relax. He told me he repented and has left banditry. We sat and discussed a lot of things. Mohammed said. Mohammed, who spent 197 days in captivity following that popular train attack. Of course, do you all remember? So welcome to News in Nigeria TV. This is another news that you don't get anywhere in the old wide world, but only from Nigeria. Nigeria is the only country in Africa and of course in the whole global world that currently today is rehabilitating terrorists and bandits. So the experience of Mohammed is only peculiar to Nigeria and you can only get it right here on this platform. Mohammed, who was captured when he was traveling from Kaduna to Abuja on a train station about 3 or 4 years ago. On that particular train station, one young lady, an Igbo female doctor, she was shot and she tweeted, just as you have on my screen there, that she has just been shot. And there were so many trolls against her that you were shot and you are tweeting. So on that train, Muhammad was unfortunately on board and he was captured for 197 days. Can we do the calculation? 197 days is above 6 months. So Muhammad was under the captivity of these Fulani bandits, which the government had been alleged to pay ransoms to, because the Buhari regime came out. They came with a show of display that it was the Nigerian army that captured the people. Then the police people later came up that no, that we were the one that went into the forest to capture. It was so disgraceful back then. So today, those bandits that were involved in that act have been forgiven by the Nigerian government. Those bandits, those Fulani kidnappers that were involved in such dastard act, the government and some families had paid ransom to, all of a sudden, just in less than 3 years, without facing any harsh consequences, without facing any form of, repercussions, is now back into the society. Indeed, is not even going to the mosque. Is now going back to have experience, have a sit down with a person he kidnapped. But I have a question for Muhammad. Muhammad, whatever money you paid to this kidnapper, did he return it? Did the government compensate you for the very terrible experience you had? A traumatic experience of your lifetime. In what way did the government of Nigeria compensate you? You see, this is why so many people have said that the Nigerian government is a government for some people, a government that encourages impunity. And this is why it seems as if the fight against insurgency and insecurity does not have an end. Because as it stands today, these elements that go out there to attack our Nigerian soldiers and armies will, in the near future, even when captured, they will be released to go back into the society to live their normal lives. In so many cases, Nigeria as a nation has lost so many souls who are in the Nigerian army. Muhammad told us that they have a sit down. They started discussing about life. Then the bandit was apologizing that he's sorry. That after all, you can see now that he is a repentant kidnapper. That he has stopped all that. That he has now been showed the true way. That in fact, the government now haven't gone through that rehabilitation process. That they gave him a starter pack. They gave him wheelbarrow. They gave him funds for fertilizer. They gave him some seeds and of course some cash to kickstart his life again. Well, the initiative might look good on paper, but there's only one thing this initiative does. It encourages more people to go into such banditry. It encourages more northern Fulani youth to go into this criminality because it shows that, well, when you are captured, the worst that will happen to you is you'll be condemned to 18 months rehabilitation orientation, and afterwards you get a starter pack, seed, wheelbarrow, cutlass and hoe, cash, and of course seeds. And you know, this guy who says he's a repented bandit, maybe after some years will might trace his steps back into banditry, and then the cycle continues. You find himself into banditry again and goes into kidnapping, and maybe he's been caught again. He would then be rehabilitated again, and then it becomes a vicious cycle for him and his people who are in such criminality act. This is nothing but a shame of a nation and a country. Show me a country that does this nonsense. Show me a country that wants to end insecurity but pampers the elements that are perpetrating this high level of insecurity. Have you not seen how America does not joke with terrorists? If America does not deploy capital punishment, what they do most times is life imprisonment without labor. So why is the government not having the capacity to implement life imprisonment for this kidnapper? I mean, this kidnapper, we know that the numbers of people that were kidnapped on that Abuja train station, not all of them went home normal. Not all of them went home with complete body parts. Not even all of them went home alive. Some lost their lives along the way. Some because of high blood pressure, because of tension, because of panic, lost their life. However, our government, our government that is known as the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is releasing bandits, releasing Boko Harams, releasing Fulani terrorists. However, incarcerating a young man that is simply preaching for a better country, a man like Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. In a country whereby when you speak up, for myself, I might be picked up anytime because I am speaking against the oligarchy and the hegemony of the Fulani in the Nigerian ecosystem. It is possible that in the coming days or months or years, they might pick me up that I'm saying too much. Right? These are what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, that Nigeria is owned and run by the Fulanese. How could a Buhari come up with such initiative that let us begin to rehabilitate bandits and terrorists. So much so that as at today, we have recouped, reintegrated, and rehabilitated over 400,000 bandits and terrorists. Like, what sense does that make? Like, for real, why would a Buhari come up with such initiative? And today, a Tinubu